This Tour Truck Tuesday, I have the best video that I'm ever bringing to you. The greatest player of all time. Tiger's been an icon of the game throughout my whole life, and this golf bag is ridiculous. His insights and the things he tells us are phenomenal. Enjoy. Hit subscribe as always. Stick to the midsection for an all-time giveaway by TaylorMade. This is as good as it gets, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, the man next to me needs absolutely no introduction. Mr. Tiger Woods, what's in the bag is coming to you. I've worked out on the tours with some of the best players in the world. I've only done a little bit with you, but a lot on camera, which has been fantastic. Let's dive into what we have in front of us. It is your first look at Qi35s.
Yes.
So, we've got some test clubs. Under Frank, we have the core model. Tell me about this, and if you've hit it yet, what you like about it, where you're at with it. I got a 10.5 as well and a 9 there.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed from the difference in the Qi35 is the forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's just as hot as my gamer, but the slight mishits on my heel side, which I'm heel biased, is not running as much. It's hanging in there, which is great. The dispersion is a little bit tighter, which is nice. I just noticed that the cleanness, which I'm a big fan of, is looking down the top line, and how the top line sets, and having just a simple logo and not my eyes aren't transitioning to the heel side of the club. I can focus on what I like to focus on, which is leading edge and ball. And so my eyes gravitate towards that, so I don't have any distractions. The testing has been really pleasant. As I said, the ball speed is the same, but the forgiveness has been amazing.
So there's a projected CG through the face here that's a little bit lower than before. So if you can hit the high out of the face ball that comes out as the cutter, which I know you like,
yes,
right?
I do, yes.
You should get more efficient numbers on this. Have you seen that? Do you see in a generation of drivers changing that this one could really be something you can hit that peeler?
Yeah, well, as you know, that I'm very heel biased. I don't really hit any shots on the toe. So having a sweet spot that's lower, because I tend to gravitate toward a lower tee setting, as you know, barely teed off the ground, and hit it off the heel to keep it in play. The fact that I'm gonna be able to get more carry out of that shot, it's not just going, whatever, 250, 270, somewhere in there. I'm able to get like a squeezer and a hot one, which I love that. Not the fact that I can hit a gamer in play is going to go further, and especially into the wind. My little peeler tends to kind of peak a little bit. The fact that I'm able to hit a hot one, but I also noticed that when I teed it up, I was able to turn it efficiently. So that was eye-opening to me.
Now the tee height, let's touch on that. You play a shorter tee to what the industry has changed.
Okay, right.
But you haven't come off of it. Why do you stick with that? How do you adjust to stick with that?
It's just what I have always played. I mean, literally my entire life. The higher tees for me, I have a hard time getting a lot of the mass and underneath it, and then swinging out to the right. I like feeling more on top of it and covering it. So when I get the higher tee, it's amazing how far up I have to move that golf ball to offset me getting on top of it. So yes, when I draw it, I tend to tee it up my little miniature tee on the high side. Or sometimes where we have fluffier tee boxes, right? And then my tee won't get into the ground. So,
but you don't change on it. I love that.
I don't.
Tiger has an Ohio State bag in his thing. 1995. At the time, he had never had a tee bag given to him, and so he still, to this day, uses the original tee bag.
Is that why there's a 10.5 in here this time round, just for you to look at, so that you can maybe see a bit more loft, or do you then back up?
I love loft.
Okay.
Loft is my friend.
But you can't have face angle sitting a little shot, right?
No, I don't mind it shut. I don't like it running on me.
Okay.
So
not too far away.
Not too far off to the right.
You.
If it runs, I tend to get more left aiming. When I get more lefting, I tend to hit more of a cut, and I just keep chasing the cut.
And it goes more and more off the strike.
It gets worse.
Got you.
Exactly.
You've toyed between two shaft manufacturers over the years. You're back into this one that you've played in the past with the orange at the top. How do you go about your shaft testing, and how would we maybe relate to that if we're trying to get fit for golf clubs?
Well, over the years, I tended to stick with the Mitsubishi over the years, and I I love the butt stiffness, but I also like a little bit of play at the bottom.
Yeah.
I tend to gravitate. I've gravitated towards this because it is a slightly hotter shaft. The kick is not quite as much, but also then again, it's the settings on the club head too.
Yeah.
So if I tend to go to a lower setting, the little kick helps me. Over the course of my career, I've always liked spin, and I've always been good at taking spin off, and that's why I like a kickier shaft.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten a little bit older and have less speed, I've tended to gravitate towards something a little bit more stiff to kind of help me get it a little further forward. Right?
I get it. I get it.
So
yeah.
The spin is a fantastic thing. But I just don't quite have the speed like I used to.
So let's touch on that. Obviously the irons are famously talked about. You've got a slightly different groove in there. Tighter, narrower, gives more spin.
That is correct.
The 4, 5 and the 6 have a slightly different offset. Correct me if I'm wrong, but to the 7, 8 and 9.
Correct.
You got the tungsten weight that you've moved. But talk to me about this spin that these give you and why they're so trusted and why you stick on them.
Well, I've always loved spin, and so as a player, spin has always been my friend, and I can always take spin off. It's brutal to put spin on, and the fact that we have a shallower, the more grooves we can, that I liked over the course of my career. The fact when I played in wetter conditions, and the ball tended to get a little wet, I was able to get more grab.
Yeah.
And so as earlier morning tee times, whether it's in the fairway or in the first cut, that little bit of moisture, to have just a little bit more grab on it.
Yeah.
I tended, sometimes if the ball is wet, sometimes every now and again, it comes out really soft and not really moving.
Yeah.
Which I love. I don't like a hot ball.
Okay.
Give me spin.
Yeah.
And then I'll adjust from
off.
there.
Okay.
If I have to go up in club, I happen to go up in club. But if I don't have spin, I happen to catch a tumbler, I don't like those tumblers. That's one of the reasons why, this is dating myself.
I can go with you, don't worry.
When the industry had square grooves.
Yes.
And all the players were using square grooves. I never did. I used V's.
So that wasn't an adjustment for you then?
No, it was not.
Okay. All right. I heard that the numbers were made bigger because under pressure you want bigger numbers on the bottom. Correct?
That is not true.
That's a marketing story. This is why we're doing this, so the myths can be put. I like that.
True.
The next thing I heard about this is that you change 2 or 3 sets a year.
That is, when I was playing full time, yes, I was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a fresh set to start the year, and then I'd wear it in through Augusta, and then I'd play the first 2 majors, Augusta at that time, the US Open.
Yeah.
And then I'd have a fresh set for the British because I wanted to bring it down again.
Okay.
And have a good one for the PGA.
Okay.
And then the back end of the fall season, I switch up again because I used to hit a lot of golf balls.
I get it. In that case, how often were you changing the 60?
Well, I was changing probably once every month and a half.
Okay.
2 months.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe a couple tournaments and it was out and it was gone.
Okay. Another thing
especially if I was hitting bunker shots.
Yeah.
So
would you ever have a practice wedge and a gamer wedge?
We had about like 6 to 8 sets that I would wear out and I'd rotate. I was sending to Mike, having it reblasted. Yeah. And so once I got the bounce just right for those wedges, obviously sometimes at that time it wasn't absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And so you'd have a feel, and then I would resource all those wedges and have them one time through, so that would last me through a year, and then I have to redo a whole next set for the next year.
So now this is music to your ears.
It's
the mill
easy.
grind. Yeah.
Mill grind is so much simpler.
You heard the hype at the start of this video. It was real. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're sticking around. What a guy, what conversation he's given us on these bats. However, we're going to do a giveaway of this Masters golf bag. That is insane. You can get this golf bag, these driver and 3-wood and putter covers for your Spider could all be yours. But we're going to make this a little bit of a challenge. You're going to have to do a couple of things if you want to get your mitts on these. You first off need to get in the comments here and put hashtag Tour Truck Tuesday. The other thing I'm going to need you to do is follow me, subscribing on YouTube, subscribe to TaylorMade, and subscribe to Trotty Golf on Instagram. That's all going to be in the description. This whole thing as to how you get it is going to be in the description. Then go to Instagram, DM me with a screenshot of you following myself on YouTube, TaylorMade on YouTube, and of course I'll know you're following me on IG. If you do those things and you put the hashtag Tour Truck Tuesday even bang in your DM a little tiger emoji, then this could be yours. I'm going to pick a winner before May the 1st. So we're going to give you at least 3 weeks to get in this, and May the 1st, on that date, or the Tour Truck Tuesday, the first Tour Truck Tuesday in May, I'll pick a winner for the Masters golf bag and the head covers. Enjoy the rest of the video. One thing I've got to dive in on here, and again, I want you to put it straight in my head. So you've got, I believe these are X1s throughout.
They're
again,
all X1s.
Okay, even in the wedges?
Yep.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
My sand wedge and my 60 are S4s.
Now there's no logo on here. You take it just old school, or are you taking it off? Or is this a stash that you had? Any secrets you're going to let us in?
It's a stash, yes.
It's a stash. Any reason for that? Do you think there was a difference?
Yes, okay. Absolutely. This is from, what was it, when I played 93 maybe? The Byron Nelson.
Okay.
And Lee Trevino was hitting golf balls on the range.
Yeah.
And Lee Buck was talking about wedges and talking about never put chrome on your wedges, always having raw, so the grooves are always had grab, right? And then he was a big believer in the shaft flexing, because you're not going to hit a wedge full out very often, or if ever. But having a slightly more load was able to put more spin from your little pitch shots all the way out to your 3/4 sandwich shots.
So swing weights are up on these as well?
Yes, absolutely.
The set.
They're
so
like D8s.
Lie angles, are they grade through the set, or do you? How flat do you make them? Because that's been a topic of conversation today with a lot of guys.
They're about I would say a degree and a half flatter, because I like getting my hands lower for elevation shots.
Same at the top end of the bag, because I noticed we got a cheeky little.
No, but they get a little more upright.
Okay.
Because
you don't want to lose it.
I don't want to lose it to the right.
I'm with you. Now, something you got to put straight. I was going to ask you, doweling.
The wind dowel?
Yeah, is it true?
It is true.
Okay, how do you know how much to put in?
That was Mike's deal. So I would feel it in the head. So I would hit, when I first started with the wind dowel, it was, I would hit each club, maybe I'd probably have like 15 of each iron, individual numbers, right? And I have to find the right one. Yeah. And sometimes those didn't work out, so I'd have to source them out and maybe hit 40 to 50 sets of irons and try and figure out, match what felt the best. Yeah. And then go with that and say, can you copy that? But I like the dampening of that. That's what I was going to ask. So it's almost like feel a Sensi core, but your way. You didn't use Sensi core. Okay. So, but I had that feel and the softness of it, and I became adept to feel that in my hands. Okay. And then you swing weight after, well, it's all in the assembly process, so the swing weight is taken care of. These grips you've used since Tiger and Time began, BCT. I see sometimes you have them, you're not too precious on them. Sometimes you have them to the side, sometimes you have them straight. No. They start out always on the underside of it. Yeah. And then sometimes I would adjust the settings on the club heads and the shafts. And so, yes, then I would play it, but if you look at all my irons, they're on the underside. Okay. But I tend to muck around with the woods a little bit more, and shafts interchanging. Okay. And sometimes, once I get a grip dialed in, and in fact, I'm always toweling my grips off. They tend to get a little bit smaller. Yeah. And then you get like just perfect. Yeah. Take the cord out. So you always make them a bit bigger, then you wear them down. No. They're set, and 1+1 as you know. Yeah. But then over time, you'll see my handprint and the dirt. And they get just right. And that's when you like them. And they get just right. Okay. And then they pass that point. Yeah, and then you got to go. And then you get a fresh set of. And then I start the process over. And sometimes I will take sandpaper out and sand my grips down to get them just right, especially my right hand. Yeah. Because that's obviously that's closer to the club head. Yeah. I know they changed these over time, so I was interested to see if this was a stash or if this was BCT, but it is BCT. It's BCT. Next question, again, I want you to answer the myth, or if it's true. On the truck, on the tour, I've seen your name in the puring book for iron shafts. Do you pure your iron shafts, or do you not? I don't. Okay. I don't. Okay. Woods, I figured you didn't. And then look, there's a ton of fairway woods in here, both models. You've also got a Qi35 wood in there that I know has been something you never really do a rescue. But what's the thinking so far, early days, with models of the fairways? Where are you going to go? Yeah, I just started testing these. So I love the 3-wood, the fact that it was a little bit easier to get up in the air. Yeah. Which I tend to use my 3-wood for a lot of driving. Yeah. And so that's really important to me. I mean, I don't go to many par 5s anymore. So having that ability to drive that 3-wood and keep it in the air. But I like to hit my driver with a slight cut straight ball.
Yeah.
Every now and again, maybe turn one over.
Yeah.
But that 3-wood, I have to be able to bend it.
Okay.
I have to be able to draw it.
So that's your
shape.
shaper.
I like having more loft on that 3-wood. So I have that option to be able to turn one, turn around in the corner, turn it, hold it against the wind because the driver's running on me.
Yeah.
I need to be able to turn that 3-wood.
Because then you have spin.
I have the spin.
So it goes back to what
But then again, on the flip side, I love the 5-wood, the fact that I'm able to get a little further, but also have that little chip thing out of the rough.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. Just versatile.
I don't use a 2-iron anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe at the Open Championship, and that's about it.
Yeah. But then this guy's in there at the 770 if needed.
Yeah, well, that's been helpful. I don't have the speed I used to have with the long irons. So when I noticed that this has been, well, as progression has happened over the years, as the golf ball has gotten a little bit faster, and I have switched golf balls, I've gone to a harder golf ball. I don't have that little kick anymore with my 3-iron and my 4-iron.
Yeah.
So I need to have a little bit of help.
Yeah. Okay.
And I noticed that having that little hot driving iron has been great. So having a dual purpose, because I only had that blade for all those years.
Yeah.
And I always had the speed to get it up, and I had a ball that spun a lot.
Okay, makes total sense. Final couple of questions. You've always stuck with this wedge configuration, and all around the world, right? You never switch for tournaments. You go 60, 56. Again, just because it's what you know?
Never, ever.
No need?
Nope.
No bounce change, no nothing?
I do change bounces here and there, but the lofts never change.
Okay.
So I've been playing these lofts maybe since I was 11, 12.
Yeah.
And I literally have never switched.
Yeah.
I've never changed. And so majority of the time I use my 56 a lot.
Yeah.
And every now and again I'll use my 60. But the majority of the time growing up, it was the 56 that was the club. And you open it up and it's 70 days, right? And you just having all those conversations with him and Ollie and how they move and contort and use bounce and how the hands back. Now, as the balls have gotten harder and less spinning, we've gone away from the spinnier golf balls. The fact that most people have a 60 or maybe a 62, even some guys use 64. Loft is always your friend.
Yeah.
You can always take it off.
Yeah.
But having loft and spin, loft and spin is great.
Yeah.
You can always take it off, and you always milk it with your hands and take it off.
You mentioned D8 at the bottom end. What do we come up to through the set in swing weight?
I'm D4 throughout all my irons, and basically D3. Every now and again, I have gone to a D5 driver to feel a little bit more head weight.
Just to give you a bit more thud.
Well, no, more feel in the transition as I go from the top. If the head weight is too light, I lose the feel of where the club head is in space.
Yeah.
And I love having the feel and knowledge of where my club head is in space, and then I can adjust it at the bottom and make any kind of contortions with my hands if need be. But if I'm flying through that zone and I don't know where the club head is right before impact, I can't make those adjustments with my hands. There's a real issue.
And then finally, the first time I've ever seen anything in your bag, is that just to hold Frank, or is
No. I've realized how important alignment is, and I've always used my iron shafts and throw them down there.
Yeah.
This is longer, so I don't have to bend over as much, right? So I don't have to redo my lines as much.
I like it.
And so I was throwing my forehand down there, or my iron, and just have 15 lines of stuff. Now I just have 3 or 4, and it goes further back.
Legend. Tiger, you're the best. It's so good to be around you, to hear you talk.
Yeah.
I know your time is so precious.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you so
You're
much.
the best. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it.
Be sure to check it out. Any comments down below. I'll answer them as good as I can, but not as good as this guy.